Hello, it's Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello, welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barton. Today we're going to be talking about Andrew Tate has been reportedly arrested in Romania for sex trafficking, which he's been accused of doing in the past, which he's obviously denied doing that. So it's an interesting story. He's definitely been a figure that has been up for a lot of conversation. So we'll dive a little bit into that story. Also, Julian Assange, Reuters is reporting that the allegations that he's had for like a decade about sexual assault is now being dropped. Some of them, I guess, have been dropped from statute of limitations. And one of them, the prosecutor decided to drop because they feel that time will run out on that anyway, and they don't have enough evidence. I'm like, you had all this time, but you didn't have enough evidence anyway. So it's interesting. It's just interesting. And so it's been something that's obviously hung over him, that's forced him into hiding for some time. I don't even know if he's aware of all of it being dropped himself. So we'll go through the Reuters article. So some fascinating things going on. Also today I saw this thread from someone who's I guess he's an LGBT activist, but he does some kind of sex podcast. But he tweeted this 2 days ago, so it just kind of now came in my feed. But he accused, I guess, religious people of projecting when they talk about the sort of indoctrination that you see with the LGBT stuff. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Because he's saying we're not the ones who evangelize and do X, Y, and Z. And so everyone has, not everyone, but a lot of people have replied with evidence to the contrary. So I just wanted to run through just a few examples, or a lot of probably examples of why that's so silly. And there's plenty of people within the LGBT community that have joined in the fight of saying, let people explore themselves sort of naturally and don't interject this into all the kids shows and schools and libraries and whatnot. But there's literally a song called "We're Coming for Your Children." So we'll be talking about those things today. But before we jump into it, I want to encourage you guys to go to blackteens.com, check out different content on my website, different articles. I mentioned the other day I dropped one about my parents who just celebrated their 42nd anniversary. So I got a nice article about that. I dropped one this week about the GOP and how they've just frustrated me to no end. I feel like they have no identity going forward, and the party's going to perish from a lack of vision. It really, really is. So they got to get it together. So I'd recommend reading that and other articles that I have on blacktnews.com. You can also check out different merch that we have at blacktnews.com, like this cool "My Money, My Business" shirt that I got there. So many people, I made this particularly about the abortion issue because some people are like, it's none of your business. I'm like, don't you guys want my taxpayer dollars? I'm like, if you're asking for like the public's money, the public like has an opinion. So I made this shirt, but I do have black tea merch on there. I got this really cool "Constitution is a Glorious Liberty" document with Frederick Douglass wearing like the gangster glasses, which, by the way, those aren't like pixelated squares in his glasses. They're actually like pixelated stars. I thought that was a nice touch. Also, this shirt is really cool. I have this one, "Be Better, Not Bitter." because there's a lot of people out here who want to hold on to things that they that they didn't even experience themselves, and really kind of use it to ruin our nation, I guess. I could say. Do you guys remember when there was a big controversy about the Black national anthem? Which we do call it that. I don't know if everybody calls it that, but we definitely called it the Black national anthem when I was in school. People still call it that. So if you're not familiar with what the Black national anthem is, it's "Lift Every Voice and Sing." So which I've sung at many events, especially during Black History Month, and even at Black Republican events. Someone would sing the national anthem and someone would sing "Lift Every Voice." I would probably do both myself. Because I am asked quite frequently to sing the national anthem, and if it's that time of the year, "Lift Every Voice," people sing it. So what I found, that people were suggesting that they sing that song and play that song instead of the national anthem at like the NFL games, which I just thought was ridiculous. But it caused so many people to be angry about that song, especially because people called it the Black national anthem. And I had to tell people, I'm like, guys, it's a beautiful song. It's a beautiful hymn. Just look at the lyrics of the song. And so, because people are just lashing out, not kind of knowing, I don't know, the history or even the lyrics or how the song goes, anything about the song. So when I would go back and forth with people, they'd look at the song and they're like, oh, this is actually a great song. Now, I'm not advocating that people sing that instead of national anthem. But I really didn't appreciate the NFL and other people trying to uplift that particular song as a way to down the national anthem. Because the actual great thing about that song, and I know I'm kind of going a little off topic, but it just made me think, the shirt just made me think of it. The song itself is about optimism. It's not about bitterness. It's about let me just be easier to just sing it or look through the lyrics real quick. Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as a roaring sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. My timing is way off with this. I'm just trying to rush through it. Facing the rising sun of a new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. I think that's the first verse, and I didn't mix them because the song there's like 3 different verses. I think that was all of the first verse. And but the sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. That means we've been through something. We've obviously been through such turmoil in our nation's history. But then the next line, sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. So yes, we've been through things, but because we've made such progress, we have a reason to hope for a better future. So all these people who try to use that song, or even the way that people propped up Juneteenth, it's obvious that they're trying to prop up that holiday as a way for Black people to celebrate that, as opposed to celebrating the 4th of July. It's really disgusting to me, because people in the past had optimism. These people that I put on the shirt have optimism. So that's why it's be better, not bitter. That's why that song made me think of that time and that story in that song, which is a beautiful song. So yes, still love America, have hope for America, even though it has darkness in its past. We still have so much to be proud of for where we've come and hopefully where we're going. I know I tackle a lot of dark subjects daily. One of my favorite comments that someone left when they were arguing with a troll, they were like, I wish the stuff she said wasn't true. And I'm like, oh, I wish it wasn't either. But there's still a lot of hope, reason to have hope. There's still a reason to have optimism and to be better, not better. So anyway, long commercial for that shirt, but that's why I made it. That's one of the many reasons why I made it, why I wear it, and I believe in it. So on blacktnews.com. And just one more thing before I move on, the Black National Anthem, before anyone gets too triggered, which I assume if they're triggered, you've probably been triggered by that phrase, is not because I want to run away and form a Wakanda or something like that. It's just really like a term of endearment, at least on my part. And I think for most people who use that phrase, I don't know about people who maybe use it now because there's such manufactured animosity toward the nation as a whole. But it's just really like it's like a nickname, like a term of endearment. It's not because I plan to go find other, brown brothers and sisters and form my own nation. I'm very happy being an American. One of the reasons why I thought Black Panther was such a bad, not bad. I take that back. It's not bad. I did enjoy it. The first Black Panther. I didn't see the second one. It's not bad, but people like overhyped it so much. I thought it was kind of more like a mid-tier Marvel film. People act like it was the best. I did enjoy it. Had a lot of fun. Actually, I saw it with a bunch of Republicans because we had an event. I won't go into the story anyway, but yeah, I had a good time seeing it. But Killmonger's plan was to just arm all these other Black people, and they're like, yeah, like we're gonna take over. And I'm like, I've been like, bruh, who are you? Who are they? I'm an American. Like, bruh, no thank you. So I just thought it was kind of a leap of logic. And another thing, since I'm on the subject, and I promise you I'll get to the news, but another thing I really didn't like about Killmonger, and I guess the film as a whole, is that his success as a villain really depended on the stupidity of everyone around him. If it didn't make sense that T'Challa's homeboy was on Get Out, decided to betray them for Eric Killmonger when he was mad because they didn't get capture the person who killed his father, yet he's gonna team up with the guy who's been running around with his father's killer. There was just a lot of things. I didn't feel like T'Challa was as wise as he was in like Civil War, or as formidable as you saw him in like Civil War. So it just took a lot of people making some not good decisions for Killmonger to get as far as he did. So there's other ways I could break it down. I'm not gonna prolong this anymore. But anyway, I just thought it was crazy that was his plan, because I'm like, maybe some people will go along with this, but at the end of the day, I'm an American. I'm proud to be an American. I don't know anything about Wakanda. I'm not just going to take up arms from a foreign African nation, especially when y'all was just lying 2 seconds ago, like all y'all imported was like, I don't know, beads and skirts. And now all of a sudden y'all got weapons of mass destruction. Like, get out of here. Get all the way out of here. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense to me in the least bit. Anyway, if you like what I do here at blacktnews.com, you can go ahead and give a donation at the website, blacktnews.com/donate. It costs to stream, costs to run my website. It costs to do a lot of things, and I want to continue expanding Black Teen News. So if you would like to help with that overhead, I very much appreciate it. It's $25, $50. We can do more. God bless you. Appreciate it. Otherwise, thank you guys for watching, for subscribing, for adding people, telling them to watch and to tune in. All that stuff really, really does help, and I appreciate it. Very much appreciate it. Okay, so I actually don't have a meme for you guys for today, so I apologize, but I don't have a meme. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about, I guess we'll start with Andrew Tate, because I'm only going to comment a little bit. So Andrew Tate has been a firestorm figure. So it kind of seemed like, I don't know how many of you guys know who Kevin Samuels is or was, because he did pass away this year. But Kevin Samuels had this, he's a consultant, and people would call into his radio show, and he he dissed men and women, but it was the women who seemed like they really tried him, and he got into these conversations and because these all these women who would want a high value man who makes a lot of money, who have good jobs, etc., and status and power. And he's like, what are you bringing to the table? And they, well, I'm this educated, I'm this and that. So he would always be like, you guys are listing qualities that these men don't want. They want people who are nurturing. They want people who are cooperative. They want someone who's going to form a family with them. And you're delusional. He would rate like, what would you rate yourself? And they'd be like, I'm a 10. He's like, how much do you weigh? How tall are you? And so he would cut some people down to size. So he said a lot of things that I agreed with, a lot of things that I didn't agree with. But he was a figure that a lot of people enjoy listening to, and people despised. But it seemed like when he passed away, which Andrew Tate has been like famous longer than that, but it seemed like he really started to just explode, because he was saying like a lot of the women are delusional, kind of masculine men need to be this, women need to be this, etc. It seemed like he really fulfilled that sort of hole that was left by Kevin Samuels, at least in the social media sphere. At least that's what I observed, like from his videos popping up on TikTok and YouTube and other places. It seemed, because Kevin Samuels stuff was just like all over the place, and all of a sudden Andrew Tate stuff was all over the place. Andrew Tate got banned from like everything eventually. Like I think even like his banking and Google, and I think it was like some of that, like even his email, if I'm not mistaken. But he got kicked off of like his videos of TikTok and stuff were being taken down. He got banned off of Twitter. He's now back since Elon Musk came back, YouTube, but he was going everywhere debating people. And he said he liked to debate people, and he would say things that were obviously true in a way that people would just find detestable. And so it would trip him up. So that was like his plan going on to different Twitch streams, etc. And there was like this big sort of conglomerate of social media influencers that work together to get him like deplatformed everywhere. But anyway, he has been like back on Twitter and posting, but he has been accused of human trafficking before, and now he's allegedly been arrested for it. And so he had addressed that stuff before, said it was all not true. I mean, I'm going to need to see, as I think we should all wait to see some sort of like evidence before, there's all that condemnation there. People are, there was a joke. I don't know how much people actually think this is a joke, because he got into it with Greta Thunberg, the climate activist teenager. How dare you, that girl. He did like a video like showing all of his cars, and she dunked on him and was like, oh, you can email me how many emissions you have at like smalldickenergy.com or something. And people are like, oh, that's such a good clapback. And I don't know if he ended up responding to her, but then they're like, I don't believe that he came after Greta and then all of a sudden he was arrested. I don't believe in coincidences. So I don't know how much that is just right-wing people having fun conspiracy time, because there's definitely conspiracies that people are right-wing and they're serious about, and there's definitely right-wing conspiracies that people make up just to kind of poke fun and get lost in the weeds and just joke and Reddit threads or whatever. I don't know how many people are like seriously like, no, I think they came after him at this time because of Greta. But he has been arrested on those charges. Now, if he doesn't seem like a stupid man. Again, I don't agree with everything he says, everything he does. There's a lot that I disagree with that he does. If him and his brother were messing around doing that kind of stuff while they had all these eyes on them, because he is a very despised man, especially Andrew Tate talked about how he went on Tucker Carlson's show talking about COVID and how he party all around the world during that time. He realized that super rich people, like in other places where they dwelled, did not, it was like COVID didn't exist. And so he he would talk about that, how people were acted so hypocritical, like in the eyes of the mass public, but when they could go off and do their rich people stuff, like they just went on as normal. So he would talk about the hypocrisy from these folks, and that was another reason why people just didn't really like him. But if he really, in any way, him and his brother are into that stuff, obviously it was idiotic. And how could you be so stupid and grotesque, awful, terrible things that they're accused of? But the stupidity behind it is massive, if it's true. So here's just a little bit of him getting in the car. Yeah, so we'll see that it's a breaking story, it's a developing story. It's definitely an interesting story. But we'll see what else happens with him. But he's been arrested in Romania. Him and his brother accused of human trafficking. We will, again, if there's any truth to that, just the stupidity is remarkable. But some people are pointing out that you can't tell me that, and I'm not saying this me specifically, but other people are saying you can't tell me that the world actually cares about human trafficking because Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested, talking about Epstein's lady friend, was arrested, and yet no one else was in relation. She's found guilty. But they have a client list. They know people who were engaged with them, who were participants. Those people have not been arrested. So there's obviously evidence. I don't know what all kind of deals were made. By the way, Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. So I unfortunately think that the perversion of people in general, women, even children, is a bigger issue than we can comprehend. I think there's a lot of dark stuff that goes on in a lot of dark corners in general, but particularly in high places. And if Andrew Tate is like, doing that stuff, I want anyone to face justice. But I don't doubt that there's a lot of people that stuff comes out strategically because they've done something, they've ticked off the establishment, and they're like, we're going to cut you loose. So again, we'll see how this story plays out. But I definitely think that there's a lot of folks out there who aren't facing justice, who probably will never face proper justice for the kind of creepy stuff that they do. So again, we'll continue watching the story. I want to go on and talk about Julian Assange, who I don't know if y'all was reading WikiLeaks files, because I sure was. I sure was. Oh, by the way, side note, Hunter Biden's the mother of his estranged daughter is trying to request the court to change her last name to Biden after the family refused to acknowledge the child. I guess they felt that they were in danger and they wanted some security. They wanted security. They keep having these stockings at the White House that represent all the children at Christmas time, the grandchildren. Never one for that child. It's pretty messed up. It's pretty cruel. Michael Knowles talks about how cruel it is that they keep just ignoring this child. I mean, I've had conversations with some people about it, and they're like, well, it's probably just best for her that she is separated as much as possible from those folks. I don't doubt that, but you can at least, I don't know, make sure they're well taken care of, and that there's security if they really feel like there's issues and problems. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to be associated with them. People obviously feel that they can get benefits from the name. So I don't know how that's going to work out, because they definitely don't. They definitely don't want to pretend like this child doesn't exist, even though we are all well aware of the fact that the child exists. So just side note, I was just scrolling through some of my stories that I notated, and so I just wanted to mention that. Okay, anyway, Reuters is reporting Sweden drops Assange rape investigation after nearly 10 years. Stockholm, a Swedish prosecutor dropped a rape investigation against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, ending the near-decade-old case that had sent the anti-secrecy campaigner into hiding in London's Ecuadorian embassy to avoid extradition. Although the prosecutor's decision can be appealed, it probably closes the case, which was launched in 2010. So that's 12 years, man. Wow. Going on, well, I don't know how early that was. So yeah, that's a long time. The accuser's lawyer said she was studying whether to appeal it. Assange skipped bail in Britain to avoid possible extradition and took refuge at the embassy in 2012. He was dragged out by police in April this year and is now in jail fighting extradition to the United States on computer hacking espionage charges unveiled after he left the embassy. While Assange was in the embassy, the statute of limitations ran out on the investigation, all but one of several Swedish sex crime complaints originally filed by two women. Deputy Chief Prosecutor Eva Marie Presson reopened the remaining case after Assange left the embassy, but she said on Tuesday the passage of time made me think of Kamala Harris repeating that line again and again. If you haven't seen that video, I would go watch a video. Meant there was not enough evidence to indict Assange. After conducting a comprehensive assessment on what has emerged during the course of the preliminary investigation, I then make the assessment that the evidence is not strong enough to form the basis for filing an indictment, she told a news conference. 9 years have passed. Time is a player in this decision. Again, as I already said, it seems like after 9 years, you should have the evidence that you need for the case. Assange, a 48-year-old Australian, has repeatedly denied the sex crime allegations, calling them part of a plot to discredit him and secure his eventual transfer to the United States. Let us now focus on the threat of Mr. Assange has been warning about for years, the belligerent prosecution of the United States and the threat it poses to the First Amendment. WikiLeaks editor-in-chief Kristen Hafson said in a statement. Assange's Swedish lawyer, Per Samuelsson, said as far as he was aware, British lawyers had not yet been able to contact Assange in jail to inform him of the Swedish decision. So that's interesting. He doesn't even know. Like, this is the end of Assange's association with the Swedish justice system, Samuelsson said, but he's not happy with the way he's been treated. He lost faith in the Swedish justice system years ago. Elizabeth Massey Fritz told a lawyer for the accuser told Reuters in a text message that she and her client would discuss whether to request a review of the decision to drop the case. The right decision would have been to interrogate Assange in London and then charge him with rape. She said, after today's decision, my client needs time to process everything that has happened over these 9 years in order to be able to move on with her life. The Australian-born Assange made global headlines in early 2010 when WikiLeaks published a classified U.S. military video showing a 2007 attack by Apache helicopters in Baghdad that killed a dozen people, including 2 Reuters news staff. WikiLeaks later angered the United States by publishing caches of leaked military documents and diplomatic cables. In 2016, it played a role in the U.S. presidential campaign, releasing documents from hacked emails of Democratic Party officials. U.S. investigators determined those emails were originally obtained by Russian hackers as part of an effort by Moscow to help elect President Donald Trump, which Assange denied that. But I mean, you can, he said he got it from a source. I won't bother saying what source because I don't want to all of a sudden be blocked or something. I don't know if that would block me, but you guys can look it up. So I guess you can believe what you want to believe. Admirers have hailed Assange as a hero for exposing what they describe as abuse of power by modern states and for championing free speech. Critics say he's a dangerous figure, complicit in Russia efforts to undermine the West. Even some critics of Assange say that U.S. charges against him could be troubling, since they treat publication of secrets as a crime. Activity that advocates of press freedom say is essential for journalism. The case has divided opinion in Sweden, a country with strong traditions of support of both women's rights and media freedom. Prosecutors were criticized for letting the case drag on, while many blamed Assange for obstructing the investigation. The decision by the Swedish prosecutor heads off a potential dilemma for the British courts, which might otherwise have had to decide between competing U.S. and Swedish extradition requests. Since leaving the embassy, Assange has served a British sentence for skipping bail. He is now being held pending his next hearing in February on the U.S. extradition request. He faces 18 criminal counts, including conspiring to hack government computers and violating an espionage law. So that's the story. So those cases are dropped. Of course, he still faces possibly being extradited to the U.S. We'll see what happens on as far as that goes. But man, I was reading those WikiLeaks documents. I certainly was. And I will say the creepiest thing, which I've said this before, about reading through like those or Podesta's emails or whatever, was how comfortable the Democrats were with the media, how Hillary Clinton's plan to win 2016 was literally like, let Trump be president, be the nominee. And they just thought that she'd have it in the bag. Her staff thought she was relying on that too much. Obviously, they were correct. But she thought that someone like a Marco Rubio was actually like a bigger threat, and that Trump, Ted Cruz, and Ben Carson were the weakest. And I'm just like, those are the ones who got like the most press in the news. Trump didn't really get like a ton of negative press that was like so malicious. He got negative press for some things that he said prior to the primary, but it was a whole nother level, of course, when he became the nominee, which was planned. But he got all this free media. So I'm just like, how much was this kind of coordinated? Like they knew that, people were hanging out. They're like suggesting articles and stuff and headline changes. And I look it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, it changed the headlines for what they said. And it just seems so cozy. And I'm like, if she wins the 2016 election, there's just going to be no balance. All the power shifted on one side. And so that's one thing that made me so uncomfortable with the prospect of her winning. So of course she didn't win. But all the levers of power still are stacked on her side and the side of people like her. And her whole Donald Trump as a Russian agent ended up being dominated in the news for the next several years to undermine Trump as president. So very, very messed up world that we live in. But we'll continue looking at that story and see what happens if he ends up getting booted to the U.S. after he's done serving his sentence for skipping bail. Now on to the activist who said the crazy thing. So this is from 2 days ago, but it just kind of popped into my Twitter feed today. And I thought it was so kind of crazy that I wanted to mention it. I got to read it from my phone. I know y'all can probably see that, but I can't see it from where I am. So give me 1 second. Because it looks smaller in my phone. Looks smaller in my phone. So here we go. Religious people who accuse LGBT people of recruiting are projecting. We're not the ones who send out missionaries to convert people. You are. We're not the ones who come knock on your door and hand you tracts. You are. We're not the ones who stand on street corners yelling at people to join us. You are. We don't threaten people with hell if they don't get on their knees and at the exact same time, and for the exact reasons we do. That's your bleep. That's not our bleep. You are the recruiters, not us. You're the groomers, not us. So I find this all very interesting, not just because it's blatantly not true. Now, before, first of all, there is a lot of conversation in religious circles regarding LGBT, because there's so many progressive Christians who are trying to basically have a reformation, like to the scale of like Martin Luther kind of big, where there was, I think, a whole like movie or something. There was like homosexual wasn't in the Bible until 1946, and it's like, bruh, there's Bibles that explain what it is. I mean, you can read the Greek and the Hebrew. I mean, it describes his behavior, and they're like, they changed things, like homosexual wasn't originally in the Bible because it wasn't written in English. There's a lot of things that were in the Bible that they changed because it wasn't in English. So anyway, there's all this sort of twisted sort of measures for people to try to rewrite and add, like, oh, there's this context this, and they didn't say this because Paul didn't really mean this when he said this. He wasn't aware of these really loving relationships, and he didn't know gay people get married. I'm like, Nero married a man. What are you talking about? That's like the same time kind of relative to Paul. So anyway, there's all this discussion about Reformation. So there are people who are doing the religious sort of conversion, at least to get people on their side, particularly with this particular issue. So it's just not true on that front. Now there's tons of like secular examples that I'm going to get to, but I do want to say, I recall like in the 90s and early 2000s, there was a term called turning people out. Are we just going to forget that happened and was a thing? That there'd be people who were like lesbians and they would like be so excited, or I don't know, think it was a game or think it was a fun or whatever to find out someone who they thought was straight, who they could turn out to be gay. Like someone mentioned in a comment the other day, they heard someone who a coworker of theirs used to joke that she would get a toaster every time she could convert a straight person, and they're like, how do you do that if people don't choose to be gay? And then she didn't know how to answer the question. So I'm just like, do we just forget that was an active thing that people did? Like my sisters, when she was in high school, a friend of hers invited a friend over, and they're both females, and I guess she didn't know her friend was gay, and so her friend was trying to comfort her because some guy that she liked rejected her. And then she came on to her very hard. And she said, you might as well just be gay because no man will want you anyway. And so she got kind of scared and locked herself in the bathroom until I don't know, her parents came home or something. So just to pretend like people don't just recruit on a singular sort of really, really micro level, that's not true. But as far as culturally, it's definitely not true today. I mean, think about the Don't Say Gay bill, which is the parental rights and education bill. But think about how much of the media ran propaganda to call it that. How many people actually know that it's actually called the Parental Rights and Education Bill, not the Don't Say Gay bill, and that the bill actually does not say that you can't say gay. The bill doesn't actually say that. Well, the bill does two things. It says that you can't, basically, the schools can't hide important information pertaining to a child's mental health from parents. And I assure you, there are reasons all over the country, but also in Florida, why they felt that they needed to have the bill made. They didn't just make it out of thin air. So you can't hide important information from the parents. Conspire to do that. But also you can't teach things about sexual orientation or gender identity to children in grades K through 3 or in older grades if it's deemed in an inappropriate manner, which they're polling. I don't know if I still have it saved in my don't seem to have it, but I used to have a graph of, and I have it somewhere on my computer. I just don't have it loaded up ready to show you guys. They did polling for the parental rights and education, and they just had the language in it. And Republicans, independents, and Democrats agreed with the bill if you just read them the language of it and not the propaganda that the media spewed out and politicians spewed out. And there was all these teachers hysterical on TikTok and social media, all these different places, because they're upset because they can't teach kindergartners about sexual orientation and gender identity. I mean, that was a thing. That was a thing. And Disney and their employees were so upset. There was one who was a writer of The Clock, something about a clock show, and another writer. They were so upset and like near tears, talking about Disney and how they wouldn't stand up properly against this bill. And then you have Bob Chapek, who eventually came out and was like, we're going to devote resources to trying to repeal this bill. And that was the moment. There were lots of things that Disney ticked me off. That was like, I'm not into them anymore. I'm not supporting Marvel films. I'm not like going to the movies. I'm definitely not doing Disney Plus. There were like... there was some weaning off, but that was the moment when they're like, we're going to devote funds to undermining parents. I'm like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And that's when I was like, we're separated. We're breaking up for good. Like, no. So I haven't watched, the last Marvel thing I did watch was WandaVision. That was a lot. And I haven't seen, that was the last Disney like thing, period. Like, I haven't seen Encanto. I haven't seen, definitely didn't see She-Hulk. I didn't even see the Spider-Man film with the 3 Spider-Mans. I was like, we're done. We're done. And it's not, and before that even happened, there was Chris Rufo like reported about how they had all this inclusion stuff that they had. But they had the not so secret gay agenda. Like, those were their words, that they have a not so secret gay agenda within Disney. And then of course Gina Carano, way back when I first started popping up videos on YouTube with this channel with Black Teen News, who upset the gay mafia with when she posted her pronouns were beep, bop, boop. And so she had all these reps, whatever, from Disney and try to get her to apologize. And she's like, I can apologize, but I'm not going to do a fake apology. I just want to explain things my way. And they're like, well, they wanted her to like have a struggle session where she got on a Zoom call with like 30 other LGBT people, which would have been a nightmare. I'm glad she was smart enough to not be like, well, to say, I'm not doing that. Because they obviously wanted to just have all these people berate her, berate the white woman, berate the cis white woman. That's definitely what they wanted to do. And so she's like, how about I take a few of these people out to dinner and I can look into their eyes and they can look into my eyes and we can see that we're human and understand where we're coming from. They didn't want to do that. They didn't want to do that. So she said that was like the last time that she really had communication with them. The next thing she knew, she was fired after she had posted a meme about it was about COVID and vaccines it was about COVID and how people were treating each other and basically snitching on your neighbor kind of stuff. But there was a comparison to the Holocaust, and they're like, how dare she say terrible things about Jewish people? And I'm like paraphrasing, but you can go back and like, I've written about it at blackteennews.com. I do have a video, some videos I've done on that. So you guys can go ahead back in the archives if you need some more information on that. But there's definitely agendas there. Like you're gonna tell me that Baymax, the Baymax cartoon, where he goes to the store to buy pads and there's a trans man there talking about these are the ones that I always use. That's not because people are trying to do some kind of ideological conversion. Like there's a book that came out, I think in the 90s called After the Ball. by two Harvard guys. One was like was into marketing, and the other person was in like psychology. And so they decided that they could use the AIDS epidemic to push a favorable opinion of LGBT people. So they had different propaganda techniques. And by the way, that's their phrase, not mine, that they were going to use. And so one of them was like to have so much gay content everywhere that basically you'd be you wouldn't notice anymore. You wouldn't have any sort of you just kind of think it was natural. And we do know that there's a disproportionate amount of LGBT stuff that is everywhere. And it's been it was a trickle at first, but obviously today it's everywhere. And it's not just everywhere on adult programs. It's in kids' cartoons. It's on Blue's Clues. They had a pride parade. They had a alphabet thing was like P for Pride, and they had things like the pansexual flag and all sorts of other stuff in there. By the way, when they had the pride parade, Nina West, who's a drag queen, led the pride parade, and it was like a numbers thing. And they had all these sorts of different families and stuff. They didn't have straight people, alleged straight people, till you got to like number 9. They were the allies. But people are like, this is weird. This is Blue's Clues. Like Blue's Clues is for preschoolers. Preschool is like 3 through 5. You know. So people are like, that's strange. It's just in a lot of different places that they're pushing, like constantly in children's content. There was a petition for Peppa Pig to put gay people on Peppa Pig. So now I think there's like a lesbian panda or something. But there was adults making a petition to have this on Peppa Pig, and the petition said that children are malleable, so that's why it's important to have this. I'm like, well thanks for saying it out loud. Like you think that children are easy to mold, so you want to make sure that you have particular stuff that you want in these shows, because that's how you want to mold them. So I'm just saying all this again to debunk what he's saying about how there's not, he's saying religious people are projecting, and that religious people are the ones who basically have missionaries and try to convert people. But no, that's not true. And again, there's plenty of LGBT people who don't like the agenda. You have Gays Against Groomers. They do great work. I very much appreciate them speaking out against drag time story hour crazy stuff. Like I have a photo. Let me pull it up. One of the crazy photos from such events that happen across America now. They're in Florida. They're planning for like the biggest one they've ever had. Oh, there you go. Which, by the way, I have an article at blackteennews.com, because some people are like, well, if they're not dressed up or twerking in front of your kids, what's it matter? And it's like, if you want to have a funny man in makeup come and entertain your kids, get a clown. That's what clowns are for. Do clowns still work? Like, or do drag queens just take over the business? They especially hire drag queens because they are adult entertainers. These people aren't showing up in suits and ties and saying, hey, my name is John, and I work in real estate, and I happen to have a side thing that I do, and I'm not going to talk about it because it's an adult thing. That's not what happens. They come dressed in their weirdness, and they're expected to be there and to talk to the children because they are adult entertainers, not in spite of the fact that they are adult entertainers. And look at the makeup, look at what they do. Like, it's very much a minstrel show, but instead of mocking, like classic sort of minstrel shows will be mocking Black people, this is mocking womanhood and femininity and all the other kind of stuff. RuPaul had a quote that drag, ironically from RuPaul, because RuPaul has all these TV shows or whatever. He said that drag will never be mainstream because it mocks everything. So if you have little kids who are, in the word Peppa Pig petition, that they're malleable, and they're very much learning about themselves, learning about each other, learning about their identities, not even like really aware of what that even means. Do you really want an adult performer there who mocks femininity and womanhood and all this other kind of stuff, to be the person to guide them or to influence them? Or if you just want them to laugh at men in funny makeup, again, why not just hire a clown? There's so many different people that you can have to do these things than a drag queen. You can just like have a local author. I've gone to do readings for kids. It's a lot of fun. The kids are very fun. They make your day. You can just have other people who write children appropriate books to go read books to children in an appropriate sort of manner. You can have entrepreneurs in the community, firefighters, police, like folks like that. Not this. And there's other examples. That's the only one that I grabbed today, but there's loads of them. So also, do you guys remember this? Here's just a little snippet of this song.
You say we all lead lives you can't respect, but you're just frightened. You think that we'll corrupt your kids if our agenda goes unchecked. Funny, just this once, you're correct. We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it.
Yeah, so that was the whole song from a whole gay man's choir that came out about maybe 2 years ago now, but we did not forget. They tried to say it was a joke after there was outrage, but I'm like, you guys weren't joking. Like you guys weren't joking. On top of that, I mean, people posted so many examples of this. I mean, Cartoon Network has made like promoted stuff and cartoons and comics with some of their characters with gender identity stuff. There's one very viral video of some kids around their mom, and they were like doing some kind of live stream, I guess. And then the kids were like, my mom doesn't force me to be a part of it. And, and he's like, my mom doesn't care if I'm gay or if I'm transgender. I just have to be LGBT. And the mom's like, what are you saying? And she kind of starts laughing. And he's like, no, like, you care that we're LGBT or something like that. And so it like abruptly kind of stops. But yeah, there's people who definitely push this stuff onto kids. I mean, there was an article that was in the Washington Post, an opinion piece that was why it's important for my kids to see kink at Pride. Someone posted an article from Huffington Post about how they are indoctrinating their kids, like people flat out saying it. So I don't know why they're I don't know how you could possibly mean what he was saying. But it's definitely gaslighting. The other two tactics from the book, the On the Ball, of the propaganda that they had, the second one was jamming. So how jamming works is that if you have any sort of I guess disagreements with the LGBT community or something, or then you would be likened to Jim Crow laws or slave owners or anything that people really, really abhor with history. So there'd be that comparison, and people make that comparison so often that if you think like a Christian who says something like Candace Burr was like traditional marriage, then you get someone like Hillary Burton, who's on One Tree Hill, and says like she's the worst kind of bigot. Vadi Bachman had a series on this, and he gave like such a great example of jamming and really broke it down. And And the third thing was conversion, and that it wasn't enough to just sort of have allies and stuff, but to actually like convert the and change the American way of life. I'm just gonna trying to find the quote real quick. I have an article on my website where I posted some more about this. Let me see. One second. Oh, please don't confuse conversion with political subversion. By conversion, we actually mean something far more profoundly threatening to the American way of life, without which no truly sweeping social change can occur. We mean conversion of the average American's emotions, mind, and will through a planned psychological attack in the form of propaganda fed to the nation via the media. So, yeah. So for people to think that it's there isn't some kind of plan in place and that it's just projection, it's just not true. Like, there's plenty of people out there who just want to live their life and be coupled up with people who they want and be left alone. Unfortunately, that is not the LGBT lobby at large. I know a lot of LGBT people who do not like the whole sort of machine. But there's tons of examples and reasons why this person is just ultimately very, 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 very wrong. There's definitely plans. I mean, there's a whole month. And by the way, have you guys noticed that Pride Month is, out of all the sort of months that people have, like Hispanic Heritage Month and Black History Month, even Pride Month supersedes it all. I think Pride Month didn't get as much maybe play. It seemed like to me as it normally does because Roe v. Wade was, I think it was overturned in June, right? I don't think that was just an announcement. I think it was literally overturned in June, which was great. I think that's when it was overturned. Yeah, it was. It was overturned on my sister's birthday. It was overturned on my sister's birthday. So yeah, June 24th. So that kind of like, I think, put a kneecap in it a bit. But it's definitely, it's a big corporate machine nowadays. So this tweet is just way off base. So I just wanted to point that out. Because it was wrong. And so absurdly wrong. When you talk about people don't recruit, I even saw people in the comments who were talking about how they were teachers in school found out that they were gay, and they were like, then they started like asking them questions, and they claimed, they're like, how many people have you slept with? And they asked other sort of questions. They claimed it was for educational purposes, and then they said that other students had said that they did the same thing once they found out that they were bisexual. Really weird stuff. But in California, there was a story. I don't know if it was earlier this year, if it was last year. I think it was earlier this year, but Abigail Schreier wrote about it, and other people wrote about it. I think Chris Rufo like covered another stuff. But there was a school in California, and there was these teachers. They would, from COVID and stuff, they would kind of spy on kids to see what they were talking about, to have an inkling of, oh, are they gay? So they would recruit kids into their gay clubs, and then they wouldn't be like official clubs. So if parents wanted to know if their kid was in the club, they'd be like, oh, well, we don't actually have a list. I don't know. So they had ways of hiding things from parents. And then they would teach other schools, like even in red areas, to have these clubs and recruit kids in the clubs. And then they were also like having secret meetings with kids and trying to convince them that they were trans and having different identities and changing their pronouns and names. And one school, they even changed the girls' like medical records. That stuff is happening. That was in California, but in Florida, and I did talk about how Florida actually had reasons to do the parental rights and education bill. There were reports of different parents who said that their kids were having different secret plans gender transition plans with the schools and keeping it from the parents. Like they'd address the kids by different names and pronouns, and they would be instructed, like other people be instructed, to not refer to that stuff around their parents. They were discussing where they would sleep during overnight trips. So, whew, gosh, that got me so heated when I heard that. There's even schools that have this wasn't necessarily in Florida, but I've even seen TikToks with teachers talking about how they have transition closets. And I mentioned that at Bible study the other day. They're like, what the heck is a transition closet? And I said, well, they'll say that the kids, like, they can't dress how they want to dress. So they'll come to school and there'll be a closet where they can go in and wear whatever they want to wear. And even like outside of like the LGBT stuff, I would be so heated. Let's say you send your child to school and they just changed clothes in the bathroom, and all of a sudden their skirt is like hiked up and they got different kind of clothes on, looking like hoochie mama. You don't even, like that would be infuriating, but it would be super infuriating to know that there were adults that were encouraging that sort of rebellion between my child and me. So there's all these like barriers and lines that these activists like don't understand and don't cross, that shouldn't cross, but they're like strutting over. And that's been a huge problem. Now I don't want everyone to think that all America's teachers are creeps or something. There's definitely a lot of teachers who I've seen push back and be like, you guys are unprofessional and weirdos. But I still wouldn't put my kids in school. Just being honest with you, I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't. I just wouldn't. But there was another case in Florida where there was a man, he didn't know that his daughter was having these considerations for being transgender until he caught her trying to hang herself. Out of all the ways to go, she tried to hang herself. And so he got her out of school, and he said he got her proper help that she needed, and she doesn't have those sort of thoughts anymore, according to the father. But that was going on in Florida, and that was another reason why people are pushing to get that sort of bill passed. So people just thought that Ron DeSantis and the people of Florida were just trying to be homophobic bigots or something like that. No, as these people want to, I don't know, get or affirmation from children. They want to with their ideology or whatnot, and they create this wall of separation between the child and the parent. They fuel this rebellion, and it leads to really, really, really unhealthy circumstances. And then when Florida was like, you know what, we're not going to allow that, people flipped out, and the media decided to carry the water of these activists and the Democrats and saying, oh, it's a don't say gay bill, even though it doesn't say that. And then Disney got involved, and it was a huge, ridiculous mess. So, again, there are definitely people who are missionaries of the agenda. And again, I will say this again, there are plenty of people within who are gays, lesbians, bisexuals, even transgender people who are like, no, that's freaking weird. Like, leave kids alone, let people discover themselves on their own. You don't need to interject. Life is confusing enough without some adult, confusing them on different things and exposing them to things too early, and then also trying to feel like rebellion between the child and the adult. And what's really gross is sometimes when I've talked about these different stories of these children having emotional issues and their parents having to find out in terrible ways, like particularly the story about the man whose daughter tried to commit suicide. I'll hear these activists and who are so defensive about the parental rights and education bill and stuff, and they'll say, well, if you're a parent and you don't know your child was going through that, then that makes you a bad parent. And I'm like, you people are disgusting. Kids don't always make the right decisions. Kids can hide things from their parents because they're scared. They can hide things from their parents because another outside force is influencing them, making them afraid. They can just frankly be embarrassed. Haven't you ever been too embarrassed to go to a family member to talk to them about something? Like, kids don't make the right decision. Adults don't make the right decision, but you're gonna hinge so much of the parent's relationship and how good of a parent they are on whether a child made a good choice or not. Sometimes kids will make the wrong decision and they'll go to other people And they'll kind of know it's the wrong decision, but they'll go to people who will affirm their wrongness rather than going to someone who they know will straighten them out because they kind of want to walk a different, darker path. So parents have to be alert, but you shouldn't have other adults trying to undermine your relationship with your child. So yeah, the thread was totally wrong. Thread was totally wrong. Anyway, that's my show for today. My last show for the year, because it is Friday and tomorrow is New Year's Eve. So I'm gonna have a busy weekend because we're gonna be in church the next 3 days. We have Friday night service, and then we have we always have a New Year's Eve service. We call them watch night services in my circles. So we're gonna have a watch night service, and then we're of course not gonna cancel Sunday service. So we're having a 3 day straight services. So this should be good. I hope you guys you're going to have a safe New Year's, and we'll have lots of more stories to discuss, starting, at the new year. But I thank everyone again for joining me this year. It's been a good year. I mentioned yesterday some of the growth that we've had. TikTok still remains like my biggest platform. On my main account, I have about 90,000 followers, and I have 2 other accounts. My other one is like 30 something, and the other one is kind of smaller that I'm posting on more recently. Cup of Black Tea News. So my accounts right now are Black Tea News, Cup of Black Tea News, True Black Tea, and Cup of Black Tea News on that account. But we've grown a lot on Facebook. So we have 23,000 followers on Facebook. YouTube is growing very quickly. I've got about 3 million views in the past 28 days or so. I was at 12 point something the other day. I'm going to see if I crossed 13 already. 12.8 thousand. So we're really growing on YouTube, which I don't know. YouTube did not like my channel, but we're having some breakthroughs there. So I thank you guys for watching, for subscribing, for liking, for telling other people to watch. I thank everyone who's gone the extra mile and who's given a donation at blacktnews.com. If you can, I really would appreciate if you can do that. God bless you if you can. Understand if you can't. I also understand if you don't want to. But if you can, I do ask that you go the extra mile and that you do support, because it does cost a stream, it costs to run the website, it costs the software that I use, it costs especially when I make like a fancier video that people really, really like some people really enjoyed the content that I put out during like election time, particularly about Prop 3, though it didn't go the way that we wanted it to go. People were reaching out to me and said that I had some of the best content that were dealing with that subject at all. So the software that I use to make that kind of stuff is expensive. There's all sorts of fees, and there's frankly some more equipment and other things that I would like to get. So if you can, I really would appreciate if you can support at blacktnews.com, and also, consider getting some merch at the store. Also, before I let you go, I do want to mention I do write books, if you're not aware of that. There's more people watching on YouTube. Usually most people write on Facebook, but hello everyone who's new on the YouTube. I write books. So I have 15 published books right now. I mostly write fiction, young adults. I got contemporary fantasy, paranormal romance. I got werewolves, vampires, dark mermaids. I got a historical fiction fantasy series that I have that's really good. Imagine like Harriet Tubman meets kind of X-Men, or Roots meets X-Men. If you go to blacktnews.com and hit the merchandise button, there's a banner that'll take you to my book website. Otherwise, you can just find me at Amazon. My name is Christina Elbar, so you can just find me. I also have one nonfiction book out, Slay Your Fear, How to Overcome a Spirit of Fear. So it's a faith book. I also have my book coming soon. Of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion. And I decided to write this because I was really sick of people taking scriptures out of context. Because I would have a bunch of secular arguments about abortion, and then people be like, well, God tells a woman how to have an abortion in Numbers 5. And I'm like, I've probably read Numbers 5 more than any other passage in the Bible in the past year. And it's still annoying when people bring that up. So anyway, I at first I was writing articles to debunk that, and then I decided to put it in a book. But after after Roe v. Wade fell, and to see how so many people in the church reacted, I saw that there was really a need for this. So it does cover religious stuff, but it also covers a lot of secular stuff as well. So it's a very well-rounded book. And I'll let you guys know when that is available. Make sure that you guys are signing up for information at blacktnews.com so you'll know when you can pre-order that. I think the Kindle one will probably be available to get by the time the Right for Life March happens, because I do want to go to the march for the. I do want to go to the the March for Life. I went last year. I had a video that I did. I'll probably repost it when I get off. People really liked it, so that's what I'll probably do. Trying to see if there's anything else I want to say before I go and close out the new year. I guess not really, but just another. I thank you guys tremendously for watching, for liking, for commenting on when I post memes or headlines or different statuses on Facebook and etc. I very much do appreciate it. I also want to thank. I'm not in the Brighter Mission Pack studio, but I do usually would film out of there. I haven't been there for the past couple of weeks. I'm probably going to wait another week or so before I go back. I don't know. Well, I won't say why, but at least not on air, but I'll probably end up going back and being back in the studio maybe about a week or so into the new year. But they really did help out a lot, and I very much do appreciate being in the studio. But more than a year ago, it wasn't last year, but the year before, the head of the pack came up to me at an event and said, and I was actually thinking about reaching out to them, but I thought to see if I could get some kind of, I don't know, help or where I could kind of grow from there. And I told myself, I kind of shut myself down in my head. I was like, your channel's not big enough. You're not kind of doing enough yet. And then I went to this event, and Eric is the head of the pack, and he came up to my sisters gushing and wanted to talk to me. And so my sisters came up to me like some guy was just like praising you, like their siblings. They kind of said in a way like, why do people like you? And so anyway, he came back to my table and he's like, I love your show. I love your show. I love your show. We have a studio. We like it. Like, you can use it. And so it was great. And it's been a great partnership. And the pack does a lot of great work. They really did do great work during the election, though we got like swamped in Michigan, but like 80% of the people they supported still got elected. And they really did try to help me out with everyone, but particularly me, because it was such an important topic with trying to get Prop 3 shut down. So I love them to pieces. I'm very grateful to the Brighter Mission Pack. So even though I'm not in their studio, usually if I'm in their studio, I will say a line, but I did want to just put it out there that I am very much appreciative of them. So again, thank you guys. In the new year, we're going to have some more videos, more shows, and changing up the formats and some stuff a little bit. And I'm looking forward to continue Black Teen News with you guys. So have a happy new year. And again, be safe out there, and God bless you.